The school year is well and truly underway, and unsurprisingly, some kids complain and say, oh, do I have to go to school today? But what happens when the occasional day off turns into a situation where your child is point blank refusing to go to school? According to parenting expert and psychologist Sally-Ann McCormack, for some families there can be some serious issues underlying this behaviour, and to help us better understand school refusal, please make very welcome Sally-Ann McCormack. I've been very lucky with 4 kids at school that we haven't had that, touch wood, anyone refusing, but I've seen other parents beside themselves with anguish, and children as well, with a child who's just not getting out of the car, they're throwing tantrums, they're really stacking it on. What do you do? It would be so disruptive for families.
Oh, look, it's very stressful. It's stressful for the child, it's stressful for the parents, it's stressful for the school as well, for the teachers and staff. I think it's important, first of all, to kind of work out exactly what it is. It's not the same as wagging school or truancy. So those children who choose not to go to school for whatever reason, they typically don't tell their parents, that they're not going.
Yeah.
But
they've got something better to do.
Yeah, exactly. But with school refusal, it's actually an anxiety disorder. There is that inability to go to school or to stay at school without severe emotional distress. So it really is a real condition. There are physical symptoms in there as well. So, nausea, tantrums, depends on the ages of the children, headaches, dizziness, a whole range of different things that the child experiences, and they are real. And they are, terrible and traumatic for the children.
I've heard about this, Sally-Ann. What does it usually come from?
Look, sometimes they have... It's really different, and there's different age groups. There are statistics on it. So about 1 to 5% of children at some stage experience school refusal. And it peaks at different ages too. It's kind of the transitional ages. So from 5 to 7-year-olds, so the kids going into prep, 11-year-olds going into, the secondary school. And there's actually another peak, interestingly enough, at 14. So I think that might be hormonal at times.
This was highlighted recently in the Fairfax papers, the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. I think we've got the article here to show viewers at home. As you said, it's something that we need to take seriously, because sometimes it can be as serious as a child wanting to stay home to protect one of the parents from a domestic violence situation, which is a really serious issue on a little kid's shoulders, and we can't afford to dismiss it, can we, as parents or teachers? So what are some of the consequences, Sally-Ann, if we don't address this?
Yeah. Some of the consequences in the short term would be things like poor performance at school, stress and family difficulties, relationships with friends at school, because, if you're not there, you're not interacting with your friends. So, and there's, further to that, there's longer term difficulties as well. So things such as social isolation, there's an increased risk of psychiatric illness, academic underachievement, of course, if you're not there.
How can you get the information?
Exactly. So there's very real...
Because you wouldn't be connected, you wouldn't have a sense of connection to the school community.
Absolutely. So it's a very real situation. It's very, depending on the children's ages. You were just mentioning about domestic violence, but there's even a fear for those children who don't have any... there's none of that in their family. There still is a fear of something might happen to my mum or my dad if I'm not there. There might be jealousy with siblings. Mum and dad have got their little brother and sister at home. I want to be there too. And there's a million different reasons, oppositional, defiant behaviours.
But how do you actually define if a child has got this syndrome, bearing in mind whatever background they've come from? Because listening to that, I think to my time at school, primary school, I must have had that. Wasn't diagnosed then. I loved cartoons.
That was your illness.
And actually, that's one of the things in terms of management. First of all, get them back to school as quickly as you can, or at least get on top of it as quickly as you can. But that's a really interesting point that you say, Stephen, because I've had children whose parents will actually give them, hot chocolates when they stay at home, or
don't make home so comfortable.
Don't encourage it.
Don't let them watch television.
So for a parent this morning who's come back from a school drop-off unsuccessfully with a kid, they're sitting there fuming, half furious because you've mucked up the day, and half desperately worried for their child. What is the best thing to do? Do you drag them kicking and screaming into the classroom and sit them down and leave and cry in the car, or what do you do?
Well, first of all, I guess get to know your child. If this is just a one-off, then, maybe take them to school. One of mine used to have the principal taking her out of the car. So look for the reasons behind it. It's really important in a family to explain exactly what your expectations are. Don't hang around the school. Don't, sit there and say, oh, darling, if you go to school, I'll reward you at the end of the day.
So what? Drop them off and then move on.
Exactly, exactly.
Be tough, be hard.
I'll see you at positive. I'll see you later. Have a great day, and I'll see you at 3:30.
And don't make it sound like it's a real punishment by going to school.
Okay.
And be firm. And if it's an ongoing problem, if you find that this is happening regularly, or not even necessarily regularly, but often, you might have to seek professional advice. You might need to go and speak to someone.
Definitely worth doing. Thank you so much.
Yes, please thank parenting experts Sally and McCormack. Now, folks, Sally's tips are on the Circle website, and we'll be back with loads more right after this very quick break.